Welcome back, everybody. This is QuestionMarc,
And I'm Ame.
and today we are looking at the Final Fantasy Commander decks that have just been spoiled, the entire things, and we're going to be doing a tier list of all of the commanders, eventually in all four decks.
This might take a few episodes because there's a lot of them.
Oh my god, yes. I think there's actually 69 across the four decks.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot, and we're gonna be starting with Final Fantasy VI,
Ooh.
and this is one of those rare situations where of course, I've been playing Magic for a long, long time, but I've dabbled in Final Fantasy.
I've played every Final Fantasy up to 10. I haven't played 10 yet. I haven't finished all the Final Fantasies in between 1 and 9, but I have played most of them.
And I have seen enough media about Final Fantasy VII, and I've watched a lot of Final Fantasy X. I have kind of a feel for those characters for the most part, but not so much the 6 and the 14. So when it comes to lore, I think we're going to be real hit and miss on these things, but we'll try to get in a little bit of flavor here and there. But for the most part, we're going to be judging them in four categories that I think they'll fall into pretty easily. Exciting. These are going to be the ones that we're most interested in building around. The most powerful or the most fun. Cool are ones that still rank up there as either powerful or fun or both, but maybe not good enough, or maybe not, just the most exciting things out there. Questionable. If we don't really know what the rest of the deck is going to look like, or if it's, if there's something that's preventing it from, getting higher, it'll end up in the yellow. And then lame.
Outright condemnation.
I doubt that there's going to be a lot in this set that are going to be lame, but you never know. They certainly don't make a whole lot of lame commanders these days, so good on them. That said, I think it's time for us to look at our first character, which is Celes. Let's see. Oh, okay, right. I do need to have this right up in front of me.
Slight technical difficulties. While Marcus gets that set up, I'm going to witter on a bit about Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI was first released in English-speaking regions as Final Fantasy III.
Right.
This is one of the Final Fantasy VI is probably one of the best. It's probably the best regarded out of all of the 2D Final Fantasies in the main series.
Yeah.
It's not very hard to see why. The music is amazing, the story's really good, and we get really neat characters like Celes here. Our girl Celes here is a 4/4 legendary human wizard knight. She costs 1 generic mana, red, white, and black. And when she enters, you discard any number of cards and then draw that many number of cards plus 1. So you lose, but you gain greater. Whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if one or more of them was entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control.
Ooh, okay.
Spoilers ahead, I should probably say. This is a good reference to... There's a point in the game where she thinks literally everybody she loves is dead.
Ooh.
But then she discovers that they're not, and it's very heartwarming.
Okay. Well, so we've got Mardu colors. These are the colors of the deck. So she's one of the potential commanders of the entire deck. And 4 mana 4/4, of course, passes the vanilla test. And then some. Most of these are going to pass the vanilla test. And I got into an argument recently online with somebody about the vanilla test, and the whole point is that they are a starting point for commanders that you think might be relevant in combat. Being a 4 mana 4/4, she might be relevant in combat. And then you add abilities on top of that to see how much better than the vanilla test she is. In her case, she can do a kinda, sorta Wheel of Fortune thing, but really kind of the bad version of Wheel of Fortune, where you only draw cards equal to the number that you discard, so you actually have to lose some things. And Jesus, I just noticed the pre-order price. Holy.
She's a popular character.
Yeah, and she's got an alternate version like that.
I never imagined her wearing this much yellow. Her sprite doesn't really have a lot of yellow in it.
Huh. Okay.
I was actually imagining something more white, blue, and green. But yellow, okay.
Well, you'll notice that a lot of the artists in these are going to be Japanese artists, especially the ones with this like borderless style going on. So I know they consulted heavily with Square Enix and with the concept artists and looking back at the art books and stuff like that.
Well,
So
to be fair, mainly what I'm going off of is a sprite that's only a fixed number of pixels high.
exactly. So this character, according to the concept art, should have looked something more like this. The pixels may have made it look like something else. But, okay, how good is the first ability? It's pretty meh. The only really good thing about it, strangely enough, is that you could discard no cards and draw one.
That's
pretty
fair.
good.
That's fair game.
And, maybe you do build your deck more so around, like, ditching things and bringing things back. After all, this is talking about creatures entering from the graveyard, so it could be just, discarding so that you can resurrect them later.
Yeah.
In which case, you bring one or more creatures back out of the graveyard, and you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So where would I rank this?
Yeah. That's multiple counters for rezzed people.
I want to rank this cool.
Yeah. Basically, everybody comes back stronger.
Yes. She seems strong, but not terribly interesting to me. One thing that I do think is kind of interesting, though, is that she is a human wizard knight.
Oh, yeah. Her class is Rune Knight.
Oh, okay. So a wizard and a knight. You don't see that every day, but I'm not sure how you could really take advantage of that. Other than Mardu knights are already a thing. She'd probably go great in an existing Mardu knight deck. Okay, so next we got... Who the heck is this guy? Cyan?
Cyan!
Okay. Like the color light blue?
He's a human samurai, as you can see.
Oh, holy shit. Okay.
I love this guy. He speaks archaically. See, there will be no mercy for thee. That's him all the time. Oh my god, he is such a fun character. I love him. There's one point where you can actually go through his personal belongings and you find all these different books that he likes to read, and the last one is Bushido in the bedroom. And then he gets all embarrassed and says, no, don't look at that! Thou must not! Thou must not!
Okay.
His wife was a lucky woman.
Oh boy. Well, Cyan Vengeful Samurai is 6 and a white, so 7 total. That's a lot of mana. But this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. So you can see how the Mardu deck is already starting to synergize here a little bit with, like, discarding creatures to the graveyard and then reanimating them later. He might be a good reanimation target, or he might be good if you've already discarded some creatures and stuff. Then he can be a lot cheaper than 7. You shouldn't be casting it for 7. That's silly. And then he's a 3/3 with Double Strike, which has a lot of potential. And then on top of that, whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Cyan. So he gets bigger if your creatures like reanimate or exile or something like that.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. He's one of the companions that Celes thought lost.
Okay. And he's got Double Strike. And you know what? I don't really care what a lot of the rest of this says on it, because I have a Samurai deck, and Samurai have been struggling for years. There just aren't enough good Samurai out there.
Well, Cyan is quite a good one, and he's a gentleman on top of it.
So
In the world of Final Fantasy VI, he is marriage material.
wonderful. Well, in my existing Samurai deck, I would say that the first and the last abilities are really meh. And 7 mana is ridiculous. The deck doesn't regularly get creatures in the graveyard. So in my existing Samurai deck, this is actually going to be a strain, but as a commander himself, you're going to be hard-pressed, I think, to find a mono-white, like, reanimator when he doesn't facilitate the creatures going to or coming from the graveyard. So, as much as I say all that, he's certainly better in the 99 of a deck that's already doing reanimator stuff. And you know what?
That makes sense to me.
even then, are you going to be reanimating your 3/3 double striker? Or are you going to be reanimating, what is it, Zatalpa?
Heck if I know.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to reanimate something, reanimate this. 1-800, are you flapping? So, okay, I think what I have to say, as much as I love Samurai, I think I gotta put him in questionable.
Sorry, man, you're just better in the 99.
Yeah, and I'm not sure this is the. Actually, this is a pretty good deck for you, but yeah. Regardless, we're on to, what is that, General Leo?
General Leo.
Okay.
I'd have to get a better look at him to be reminded.
General Leo Christoph. Okay. So 4 and a white, legendary creature, human soldier. He's a 2/2. Why don't you do the rest, I guess?
That's a problem because I actually don't remember this guy.
Oh, well, still, want to read the ability?
All right. When General Leo Christoph enters, return up to one target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then put a 1/1 counter on General Leo Christoph for each creature you control.
Okay, so, controversially, I think that commanders that have an enters trigger and that's it are kind of bad. I mean, he's a 5 mana 2/2, so that sounds terrible. But of course, when he enters, you're going to reanimate a small creature, and then you're going to put a couple of counters on Leo. It's usually going to be 2 or more.
I'm going to take a moment to look up his sprite form. Maybe that'll trigger it.
Okay, you're a human being before you're a soldier. Honestly, this guy seems lame. Yes, you get to reanimate a creature, but it has to be small. And he only does the thing once. Who would want to play a commander that does an effect and then you're done? And then he gets some counters, but once again, it's only the one time that you get the counters. And then he doesn't have vigilance, first strike, flying, any kind of abilities to synergize along with it. If he's your commander, then the deck is like dorks, like little, like white weenies, soldier kindred or something. This guy seems actually pretty lame.
To be fair, he's a little lame in the game too. He's a temporary playable character for story reasons.
Ah. Okay, then we go on to the lead commander of the deck, which is Terra, Hope Eternal.
Our main girl, everyone. And also the representative for Final Fantasy VI in the Dissidia series, or at least in the first Dissidia. Mm-hmm. I believe that Dissidia Duodecim introduced Kane Highwind as well, and I don't know if anyone else was in Dissidia N.
Oh my gosh, and also she's trans. That may or may not be canon, who knows? Doesn't matter. Actually, you want to read the card?
Yes.
Okay.
Terra, Herald of Hope. Mardu colors. Trance. At the beginning of combat on your turn, mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying until end of turn. Whenever Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Okay, I guess this is fair enough for before she learned how to achieve her Esper form.
Yes, so there's 2 or 3 different Terra cards across this set. This is the commander deck version, and there's 1 or 2 others in the main set that have more to do with her Esper form that you're talking about.
There's definitely an emphasis of... Oh, I think I get it. There seems to be an emphasis among the commanders of returning target creature cards with power 3 or less from the graveyard. Mm-hmm. Could this be a reference to it being, introduced outside of Japan as Final Fantasy III?
Possibly. Also, I know that for color pie reasons, the decks had to, cover the 5 colors decently, and that this one ended up being red, white, black. And one of the themes that they went with for this version was how, I guess, in the story, there ends up being a big apocalypse, and the whole party gets, broken apart and thought dead, and then you try to, bring them back together again.
Oh, yeah. Like I said earlier, it's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. After the world gets blown up, we stick with Celes for a while, and for a while, there's a sense that, oh my god, everybody's dead.
So yeah, that is the theme of this deck, is like lots of, decent heroes, but who go through a thing of maybe being dead and then they're, actually not dead. Now, she passes the vanilla test, of course, 3 mana, 3/3 off to a decent start. Then, when you are milling to each turn, that is a great way of setting up the reanimation that's happening. In fact, you remember when I was talking about the general, how he, or even the one before it, how it doesn't fill up your graveyard with creatures to reanimate, and then it doesn't actually do the reanimating. She does both of those things, and gains flying in every combat. So that's pretty great. And paying 2 mana to reanimate a creature is not much. I think she's the best one we've seen so far.
I agree.
But am I excited? Am I excited? You know what? Out of within the scope of what we're seeing here, like within the scope of this deck, I am kind of excited actually.
She's a very popular character too.
I like the idea of self-milling a lot of these creatures, swinging in with flying. A lot of these creatures, I think, can also be reanimated by her ability. A lot of them fit under that threshold. So actually, remember when I was saying, why would you reanimate the Samurai when you could reanimate 1-800 Are You Flappin'?
Yeah?
Well, the Samurai has power 3 or less. The Dinosaur does not.
Oh, yeah.
So he's the biggest double striker you can reanimate. So, that said, we're on to this dog, which I think that what I need to do here is actually do a quick Scryfall search so that we don't have to keep looking up each one manually, because it's hard to read the text when it's so small like that. So,
Let's see. If I recall correctly, the dog belongs to... Oh, shoot. I think his name is Shadow.
yes.
Because we gotta have a ninja, right?
They named the ninja Shadow?
It's Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So it's not... I mean, okay, it's in Japanese and then translate into English and all that. Okay. I'll give him some license there. Plus, it's on the Super Nintendo. It's a long time ago. Okay. So, how about... this should get us pretty close to what we're looking at.
There we go.
So, we're in alphabetical order. We did Celes. So some of these are going to be characters that we'll see in future parts, or maybe future videos. Not sure how we're going to break it up just yet.
Yep, Interceptor, Shadow's Hound.
Interceptor. Okay, so we have our first dog. And is he a good boy?
Yes.
Okay, all dogs are good boys.
This one is a
or
good
girls.
boy. He's very loyal to his master, and his master is loyal to him.
All right, despite him being a menace and liking assassins. Oh, well.
Well, his master is an assassin, so, it's...
Okay.
Assassins you control have menace. Whenever you attack with one or more legendary creatures, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking.
That seems awesome.
Good boy from beyond the grave.
Obviously, if your commander is an assassin, then this is great.
And this guy is your best friend.
So, I almost don't need to say a lot more than that. I guess if your commander is an assassin, and ideally also if you have some kind of sack outlet, like Phyrexian Altar, Ashnod's Altar, Altar of Dementia, anything like that, you can be bringing out Interceptor, attacking with them, getting the menace on your commander, and then after combat you can sacrifice them, and you can bring them back over and over again. He seems like a decent role player in the 99. As a commander himself, I guess to get the most value out of it, you'd want to have a mono-black assassin deck where he just gives them all menace.
Yep.
And then I guess you do the same kind of tricks, except that all of your creatures are mono-black assassins. And that deck seems not good.
Overly specialized.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of assassins in black, especially since the Assassin's Creed set last year. There's quite a few good ones. But a lot of them end up being multicolor, or I don't know, just it's
Homeboy's better in the 99.
okay, good, we're back. I'm gonna say questionable.
Maybe we should have a category for better in the 99.
Maybe. Maybe, but for now, I think that Interceptor is questionable. But the one right after that is
Shadow
Shadow?
himself.
Okay, that can't be right from an alphabet standpoint. I honestly have not figured out why cards end up
Just
in the
go with
order that
it.
they end up in. But why don't you go ahead and read it?
All right. Shadow, mysterious assassin, 2 and a black. Legendary creature, human assassin.
Oh, he's not a ninja. Huh. Okay.
He's got Death Touch and Throw. Whenever Shadow deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice another non-land permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards and each opponent loses life equal to the mana value of the sacrificed permanent.
Okay.
This actually makes sense because the Throw ability in Final Fantasy is where you take an item and you yeet it at the enemy. It's not going to come back, but sometimes you can get some interesting effects. For example, if you throw, say, a potion at a zombie, it will damage the zombie.
Okay. Well, so in this case, he can throw what? A non-land permanent. So he can throw a creature, and if he does, you draw 2 cards, and each opponent loses life. Honestly, this seems quite powerful.
And if you throw the dog at them,
Don't do this in real life, everybody. Don't try this at home, kids. But yeah, there's the dog. You can absolutely throw the dog at somebody, and in the in the magical game, uh, and if you do, then they'll lose 4 life, and you'll draw 2 cards, and then you can bring him back. You can keep on doing that every turn. Oh, in fact, it triggers when it deals combat damage, meaning that Shadow and Interceptor both deal damage, and then you throw the dog at him after the dog's already hit him
yeah,
for like double damage, and you draw some cards. That seems like a great combo. Would I play Shadow in an Interceptor deck? Yes. Would I be happier playing Interceptor in a Shadow deck?
hell
Big
yes.
This is a much better commander, if you ask me. So, am I excited? You know what? A little bit, yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a whole dog at you.
Yeah, and of course, the dog is just one of the creatures that like can reanimate just built in. But you could be doing some like swamp cycling of a cave troll or something. Any
Oh my
number of
god,
crazy
Swamp
stuff.
Walk.
Oh, oh yeah. Okay, lots of crazy stuff that you could do there. The next one looks like his name's something like Siegfried.
Siegfried!
Ah, okay. So, what do we got here?
It's been too long. Sorry.
Okay, well,
I thought I remembered, but I'm not sure I did.
oh, okay. Well, you want to read them though?
Yes. Okay, so 3 and a black. Human warrior rogue with menace. When Siegfried enters, mill 3 cards and then put X 1/1 counters on Siegfried, where X is twice the number of creature cards in your graveyard.
Oh, okay.
Bit of a gambler here.
So, you remember when I said when a commander just does something when it enters that's usually pretty bad? I'm wrong. This is good. And I'll tell you why this is good. Because the effect can be very powerful. This isn't the kind of commander that you're like, quick, play on turn 4 for 4. No, play on turn 3 you get a mana rock out first and get them out as fast as you can. No. X is twice the number of creature cards in your graveyard. You want to mill, like, ideally, like, half your deck and then drop this guy. Then he's a monster. And he's got menace built in. Unlike some of the other ones that we've been talking about where, like, yes, he's large, but he's going to be blocked to Kingdom Come. He's got menace. He's hard to block. And he does 3 mil just built right in, which feeds into the rest of what's going on here. I think this guy is at least good. You do basically kind of build yourself a mono black, like, self-mill, just creatures that go to the graveyard a lot kind of deck. And I don't know that that's the most interesting kind of deck, but he's at least good.
If this be your thing.
So, I think I am going to say good. This one seems more fun to me.
Yes.
But this guy can be a monster. I don't know if he's particularly interesting, but he can be a monster.
Funnily enough, that kind of describes how he is in the games.
Oh.
I did a quick Google search. This guy is Well, he's not a player character. He's a recurring boss fight.
Oh, okay.
And he doesn't have that much importance to the story. Gao, on the other hand, this is our wild boy.
Okay. Now, because I have a background much more with Chrono Trigger than with Final Fantasy VI. So this is like the Ayla character, kind of?
Pretty much. And
Yeah.
I guess you could reasonably argue that he's a blue mage.
Wow.
Okay, so a blue mage is a character class that you don't see too often in Final Fantasy. Definitely
Yeah.
not as often as black, white, and red mages. But a blue mage is someone who can do monster abilities.
Oh.
And usually, in order to get that monster ability, they have to have been attacked by it first. And that's kind of what Gao's up to here. He has a move where you can say, okay, go study, and then he leaves the party for a bit, and then he shortly comes back. He can only do this when he runs off, he comes back, usually, and sometimes, if you're lucky, he's learned a new monster's ability. He can only do this in his home environment, which is a particular place on the map. The Veldt, if I recall correctly.
Oh. Okay.
Hence why he's in the
That kinda
savannah
looks
here with a
like
kitty.
Velt. All right. Well, want to read the card itself, and then I'll judge it.
Gao, Feral Youth, 1 red. Human Berserker. Yeah, that scans. Rage. Whenever Gao attacks, put a 1/1 counter on him. At the beginning of each end step, if a card left in your graveyard this turn, Gao deals opponent. Hang on. At the beginning of each end step, if a card left your graveyard this turn, Gao deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. I can't read.
Oh, okay. Can you read the flavor text?
Wow! I'm Gao, your friend! Friend!
Excellent. Now, how good is this card? So first off, we're looking at like Grizzly Bear stats. The old vanilla test, 2 mana, 2/2. But whenever he attacks, he gets a +1/+1 counter on it. So instantly far better than Grizzly Bear.
He gets stronger every time he fights.
Oh yeah. Every battle. I mean, that sounds like something a Berserker would do. You want to attack every combat.
And yep, that basically describes Gao as well.
At the beginning of each end step, if a card left your graveyard. Okay, so in the context of this deck, you're going to be having cards go to and from your graveyard quite a bit, it sounds like. He deals damage equal to his power to each opponent. Okay, that could be nuts. A lot of these commanders I've been saying so far that, well, okay, they're like reanimator decks, and being monocolor is kind of a problem. This guy could be really good in monocolor, actually, because he does deal damage to each opponent. You could put some equipment on him, something like Loxodon Warhammer to give him 3 extra power and trample and lifelink.
Woo!
And then suddenly, when he's dealing damage equal to his power to each opponent, it's 3 more. You're gaining all that life. It's happening. Okay, it has to have a card leave your graveyard, but it doesn't care how the card got there or left. So it can be reanimated, sure. It can be flashbacked. It can be exiled. It can be any number of things. So I would definitely look into if there's some kind of like Voltron, maybe even Spellslinger of like casting and recasting some burn spells. This guy could get nuts. The biggest problem I have, though, what's the deal with the cat in the art and then there's no cat going on here?
I'm looking it up. It's been a while since I've actually played Final Fantasy VI, so...
Okay. Because Shadow got his dog, Interceptor, as an actual character, but what's the deal with the cat?
I don't know. I think he might have been raised by cats.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. Pa-pa-pum.
So here's the question. Is he cool or is he exciting? I tend to be kind of an aggro player in Commander. And so he might be kind of exciting to me. However, the better of a deck you build off of Gao, the more it's going to be kind of... instead of a demolition derby kind of battle going on, it's going to be more of a drag race. And that I think you're going to be like, put stuff on Gao, get counters on Gao, trigger Gao, hit all of my opponents for a bunch of damage. And then it doesn't really matter what your opponent does. Unless they kill Gao, the game is going to end quickly.
And the game's probably still going to end quickly because that's only 2 mana
Yeah, you
that
can
he
easily get him
starts
back
with.
out.
The mana tax won't be very prohibitive on this guy.
I think the only thing that's keeping him from exciting to me is kind of that like, in the end, he's like just straight up doing damage straight to your opponents. The actual gameplay might not be terribly exciting and might not be terribly interactive. So
I am
that.
speed.
Next we have Gogo.
Gogo. That sounds familiar. I should know this one.
Gogo, mysterious mime. Okay, this one's interesting because this is the first creature we've seen that doesn't have a like race. They're not a human, they're not a mutant, they're not a fairy or anything like that. They're just wizard. And I'm seeing that on a lot of these creatures in the Final Fantasy sets, where they're supposed to be kind of mysterious about what kind of being they are. Like, if they're not really human necessarily, they just will leave it off. And I know that they consulted with Square Enix, so if they wanted to confirm that this character was intended to be human the whole time, they could have.
Yeah, no, it says here that we don't really know what he is.
Exactly.
What we do know is that, going by the Final Fantasy class system, this guy is a mime. Exactly what it says on the tin. He can copy other people's abilities.
Okay, here's something that frustrates me. Why did they not give him the creature type clown? Clown is a legal creature type in Magic, along with toy and a number of others that Wizards seems to like neglect most of the time, except in like Duskmourn. Duskmourn, they went, to the bank and they got toy and they got clown and whatever else they wanted. But other sets like this one, if he's mimes are clowns.
They are a type of clown.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe to keep the air of mystery up? I don't know.
I mean, it would make so much more sense to me if he was a wizard clown. And Kefka also should be a clown, but he's not.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah.
Come on, the guy is radiating Joker.
Anyway, what the magical card does is 4 and a red for a 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have Gogo become a copy of another target creature you control until end of turn, except its name is Gogo, Mysterious Mime. If you do, Gogo and that creature each get +2/+0 and gain haste until end of turn, and attack this turn if able. Okay, so yeah, he does just copy another one of your creatures, and then they both get a buff of 2 power and haste. I think first off, the biggest cool thing that we're seeing about this is that effectively means that one creature that you play per turn will have haste.
Yeah.
So you play your commander, Gogo will give it haste at the beginning of combat, and now you have 2 of your commander, and it has 2 power extra, just that they have to attack if you do that. But you probably want them to.
Anything you can do, I can do better. Mm-hmm. And I can make you better at it, too.
Yeah! And a 4 mana 2/2, that text is almost not even relevant. The vanilla test does not even apply to this guy because he becomes copies of other things so regularly.
I guess this is a deck if you really want to showcase the rarest cards you have. If you wanted to make him the commander, you could use it to showcase the abilities of the best cards you have.
I think, honestly, this guy
This guy is double trouble.
In the 99, I think that this guy is now going to be kind of like the red spark double, in that, of course, importantly, because the name is different, it gets around the legend rule. So you can 100% copy legendary creatures. So if your commander is red, and would be better if there were 2 of them and had haste,
go for Gogo.
Gogo, I think, might actually become kind of a staple in a lot of decks. And then the other way around, I think this guy actually could be really fun as like a toolbox commander, where you play him as your commander, and then your deck is full of creatures that would be cool to have haste and double.
Yeah.
That's
what I was saying.
Mono red, but you can do Fanatic of Mogus. Yeah, it was what you were saying. Let me just see Fanatic of Mogus. As an example, this guy deals damage to each opponent equal to your devotion to red. So, it'll be a few damage, depending on how many red permanents you control, and of course you can have some damage doubling enchantments or something. But if your commander is Gogo, then you also give it haste, and you also... Wait a second. You have Gogo become a copy of it? Okay, okay. Importantly, then, he will not copy your enters triggers. So you play Fanatic Amogus, you get one enters trigger, and then he becomes a copy of it. You don't get a second enters trigger. So keep that in mind. I think that does knock him down a little bit with regards to me thinking of him as like the most exciting commander.
But that is still, I think he's still quite exciting. You could still do some really fun things with this guy.
You know what? You know what? Yeah.
It knocks
yeah.
him down, but not by a ton.
And this is probably the best card that we've seen so far in terms of being in the 99. I think it's the most likely to see play outside of this deck. So, that's cool. And who's the next guy we got down here? What does that say? It looks like it says Salem or something.
Sabin, I think.
Sabin, Master Monk. Okay. So, want to read this guy?
The Sabin Master Monk. 4 and red for 4/3. Double strike, blitz. 2 and 2 red. Discard a card. If you cast the spell for its blitz cost, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. You may cast this card from your graveyard using its blitz ability. Oh, this guy does not want to stay dead.
No, he does not. Wow. Okay.
He doesn't mind if he dies, but he is not going to stay dead.
Okay. Does anyone still play what's her name? Anji Falconwrath? Anji Falconwrath. Although that's one of the more questionable pronunciations in Magic. Anya?
Anya?
Anya? I mean,
Anya?
she's an Innistrad, so who knows? Whoa. Okay. So she was the commander of a precon back in 2019, where you discard a card with Madness and you untap her, and she can tap to discard and draw. So it was a deck that you just put like every red-black Madness card into, and then it became a deck that actually didn't play the Madness cards. You just used it to like discard a Madness card, draw, discard, draw, until you found your combo, and then you win with it. So it's like a CEDH card, and that's kind of lame to me. Because Madness would be a cool mechanic, except you're just like looking for a World Fire Dragon or something like that. But this guy, you can discard a card with Madness so that you can blitz him onto the battlefield, and then he'll draw you a card. And then next turn you can blitz him back out again, and discard another Madness card, and every time he's a 4/3 double striker that comes out with haste, dies, and draws you a card. And you can just do that repeatedly. While he's just mono red, so there's not a lot of like relevant Madness cards, that could be fun. Not to mention, if he's in the 99 of a deck that's like black and red, like Angie's or
I would
something
definitely
else.
put this guy... I'd rather put this guy in the 99 than in the command spot.
Okay.
But honestly, I think he would prefer that, because this guy is the twin brother to a prince who decided, you know what, I don't want to rule kingdoms, bye, I'm going to go train in the mountains.
Also, there are some Blitz decks that already exist. It was a mechanic from the Riveteers in Streets of New Capenna, and there's a pretty good Blitz commander or two, and he'd fit great in there. So if you have that deck, he goes in the 99. He's actually a little awkward in this deck because his power is 4 and not 3. But I'm still going to say I think he's good. I think he's good because just dying and coming back repeatedly, double strike, haste, drawing cards.
Oh, and letting him hit the graveyard would be a decent way to circumvent that mana tax.
Oh yeah. In fact, if you're using Blitz, you don't have to pay his actual mana cost.
Oh my
ever.
god, he's a tax dodger.
Yeah! Because if you're in the city limits, you have to pay taxes to the king. But if you go on a monk's pilgrimage, then you don't.
Once again, this guy does not want to be the leader. He wants to keep his boots on the ground.
Yeah, he wants to just, see the world.
Let's see, Strago and Relm. Oh yeah, these two.
Okay. What?
They're mages.
What kind of chimera shit is going on over here? And some baby chocobos or something?
Let me see. If I recall correctly, Strago's deal is that he's been around the block, so he knows what the monsters are weak against and strong against.
Oh.
And Relm's deal is that she can draw monsters, and I think that the drawings
Oh.
come to life.
Okay. Well, want to read the card and then I'll start analyzing it?
Hang on a second. I want to look up.
Okay.
All right, fine.
You can look it up in a second.
Sketch and lore. For 2 mana and red, tap. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant, sorcery, or creature card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this creature. Activate only as a sorcery. Yep, that sure sounds like... Look, I drew a copy of it.
Okay. So, this commander looks fun but bad. Okay? Because 3 mana, 1/3, so this thing isn't going to be relevant in combat. 3 mana and tap to have one of your opponents exile cards until they hit a spell, and it could be good, and you get to cast it for free, and if it's a creature, it has haste, but you don't get to keep it. You get to use the spell once. You don't know what it's going to be, so it could be a counter spell, or it could be a board wipe when you're doing well or something. You did have to pay for it, and then it costs 3 and a red. It doesn't... It has Summoning Sickness itself, the Strago and Relm here. So, gosh. And then casting your opponent's spells is not a win condition.
It's more of a... This is a cool thing I can do if I need it.
Honestly, sounds like a flavor win overall. However, I think that both of these costs need to be like 1 mana less in order for this thing to actually be a good idea. As it stands, this is just a goofy, wacky card that'll probably never be that good.
Yeah, sorry guys. And by the
or
way...
it's a roll the dice if it's ever good.
Oh, and by the way, Strago actually is a blue mage.
Oh, okay, cool. Now we have... Is that a Yeti? That's a Yeti!
Umaro!
What the heck?
Raging Yeti! For 5 mana and a red. A Yeti Berserker with Trample, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose 1 at random. The other creatures you control get +3/+0 and gain Trample until end of turn. Make them big, make them angry. Discard your hand and then draw 4 cards, or Umaro does 5 damage to any target. That's planeswalkers, that's creatures, that's players.
Okay.
And he's a 6/6.
Okay, so, maybe you get tired of this, me just saying, passes the vanilla test, but he does. And anyone that you're going to use in combat, you want to see how they compare to that. So 6 mana, 6/6 with Trample, great. Yeti Berserker, what the heck? There are very few Yetis in Magic. There's no kindred synergies out there for them. It would be cool if there were. Berserker is basically the same deal, except I think there's one card that cares about Berserkers. Lavinia? Or no, Lavissa. You know what? Just because, I'm going deep here, Lavissa Cold Eyes. Check her out.
I'm looking.
Yeah. Each creature you control that's a barbarian, warrior, or berserker gets +2/+2 in haste. So, would you put this in a Lavinia deck? Hell yeah. Would you put Lavinia in an Umaro deck? Hell yeah. Now, are these good ideas? So, the big issue, of course, is at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose 1 at random. Is giving all of your creatures +3/+0 and Trample a good idea? Usually, yeah. As long as you have other creatures, yes.
Dealing 5 damage to any target's a good idea.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with that. You can always hit an opponent's face, worst case scenario.
Discard your hand and then draw 4 cards.
That's usually going to be worth it, especially in a deck that plays a lot of red. You're going to be burning through your hand kind of quick, especially by the time that you've gotten to 6 mana. You probably don't have a lot of cards left in hand. Cool. Except not being able to control which one of these things happens or when. Oh boy, okay. I think that this could be a fun build-around-me commander, and I think you play him in Lavissa. But otherwise, I think he's kind of a bad idea.
Fun fact, He's an optional player character, and he only joins your group if you have the playable Moogle with you.
The playable Moogle. Okay, well, we might still see them. Okay, so Umaro, I think I have to put in questionable.
Yeah,
Um,
questionable at best, really.
this is one of those weird ones though where it's questionable and yet also exciting because I think he could be a fun commander even if like a third of the time he'll make you discard your hand
Call it a challenge run.
or buff your other creatures that you don't have. And also I think he's good in a commander deck that I never see, which is that Lovisa deck. Okay, who we got next here? I think that guy's a dwarf. I think his name starts with a B. Banon. That's who it is. Do you remember Banon, the Returners leader?
Returners.
Why don't you read him and see what's going on?
All right, Banon the Returner's leader. That's Boros colors. Pray. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from among cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere other than the battlefield this turn. Whenever you attack, you may pay 1 and discard a card, and if you do, draw a card.
Oh, okay.
You are this world's last ray of light, our final hope.
So first off, I have to ask for an apology here. I thought that he was a dwarf. Look at that face. He's a human cleric rebel. My bad. And he's only 2 mana, so I thought little guy. But and he's a 1/3, so failing the vanilla test and everything. But with abilities like these, it doesn't seem like he's trying to be the rumbling guy himself, of course.
To be fair, he does kind of have that dwarf vibe going for him, even in his original artwork, as you can see from my phone here.
Okay, so he basically is a dwarf, but he's just stretched like a foot or so taller. If you just, grab him in Photoshop and pull him another 1.5 feet taller.
Oh, I get it. He's a rebel commander.
Yeah. He's a cleric. Interesting. Okay, because he prays. So you can cast a creature spell from the grave if it was put there. Wait, from anywhere other than the battlefield? Okay, so...
So that's mill, that's...
Or discard.
Cycling.
Yeah. Mill or discard, those are the main 2 ways I can think of. And when you attack, you can pay 1 to discard and draw. Okay, is this good? You have to pay the mana cost of the creature that you are reanimating, and you have to pay 1 whenever you attack to do the discard and draw, and he's a 1/3, so what part of this do you want to actually be investing in? I don't think this guy's very good.
Me either.
Sure, he can reanimate creatures, but you gotta pay for it, like, upwards and downwards. He doesn't gain you life, he doesn't draw you cards unless you pay and do something else. I just don't think he's very good.
Yeah, I'm not sold either.
What do we got next? Edgar Markov?
No, Edgar Figaro.
Oh, okay.
He's Sabin's twin brother.
Oh, okay.
He's also a huge flirt.
Ooh, okay. He's a human artificer noble. Well, it's, you want to read him next?
Yes. Edgar, Master Machinist. That's 2 with red and white. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an artifact spell from your graveyard, and if you cast a spell this way, that artifact enters tapped.
Oh.
Tools. When Edgar attacks, it gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. He does love As you can see here, his preferred weapon is a crossbow.
Okay. So we got a little bit of a push and pull here. This guy's kind of a deck building challenge, I think, in a way. Because on the one hand, yes, you can cast artifacts from the graveyard, but they enter tapped. So, and you can only do it once. So it's not like you can recast your Soul Ring repeatedly or make mana off of it, or like Basalt Monolith or something. So what do you bring back and probably something that has an enter trigger, or maybe something that you can sacrifice and return repeatedly, like, I don't know, Wayfarer's Bauble, or I'm not sure, Voyager's Staff to blink him, maybe? Either way, his other ability, though, gives him additional power equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. So, wait, you actually want to reanimate the biggest thing you can?
Yep.
So, or maybe not even reanimate, but just like have on the battlefield. So maybe you're doing like affinity for artifacts. You're playing like what is it? Mere Enforcer. Um, yeah. You're playing Frogmere Enforcer, where it's a 7 mana value, but since it has affinity for artifacts, you're going to pay way, way less than that. You could even pay 0 for it.
Or in a pinch, you could pay its prototype cost.
Yeah. So it is legal in the deck. You can play both of these things. And that's one of the best opportunities for Edgar here. He'll get +7 power. Cool. He doesn't have First Strike, Double Strike, Flying, Lifelink, Menace, anything else relevant on him, so he can be blocked forever by like a squirrel a turn or a goblin a turn or something.
Homeboy is only as good as his tools.
Yeah, so, and granted, being able to recast an artifact every turn is cool. It can be powerful, but entering tap does kind of, what do you call it, hamstring a lot of the cards you could interact with. Mishra's Bauble, Lotus Petal, they all kind of don't work now. So I think with that, I'm going to put him in questionable, though, because that first ability is powerful, and maybe I'm just missing it.
He's kind of, you could make it work, but you would have to be trying very hard.
And I don't think that he pays you off very well. He just gets some extra power on a otherwise, like, pretty mediocre creature.
His castle's really cool, though.
Oh, cool.
He can make it disappear.
Oh. So then we're on Kefka.
Kefka! He has
Dancing mad.
He has one iconic laugh, I tell ya.
So.
It's also, oh shoot, what was that one character from Chrono Trigger? Professor Nostradamus or whatever?
Oh, I thought it was Gaston, or no, not Gaston, something like that. Shoot, what's his name? I don't remember.
The creepy clown face in the tent. He's borrowing Kefka's laugh.
Oh, Gaspar?
No. No, the creepy clown face in the tent during the Millennial Fair.
I forget what his name is then.
It's Dr. Nostradamus or something like that.
Maybe. Anyway, yeah, they reused that sound effect in at least one other game. So, want to read this guy?
Yes. Alright, Kefka, Dancing Mad. 5 mana, black, red. During your turn, Kefka has Indestructible. He's like that. At the beginning of your end step, exile a card at random from each opponent's graveyard. You may cast any number of spells from among cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Then each player who owns a spell you cast this way loses life equal to its mana value.
Holy jeez!
Is this a metaphor for that time he poisoned a town's water supply?
Boy, that does sound like something this guy would do, huh? You look at him, and I definitely see, like, I put Nightshade in the well.
Oh, you're lucky if that's all he puts in there.
Yeah, this is some Joker shit.
It absolutely is. Like, even, you remember that general we looked at the beginning?
Yeah.
Christoph, I think? Yeah, he was looking at Kefka like, dude, not cool.
So, 7 mana for a 6/6. Fails a vanilla test. Piece of garbage, right? No. So,
hardly.
During your turn, he has Indestructible. Indestructible is one of the better abilities you can put on a creature that you want to stick around. That and Hexproof are like two halves of the built-in defense whole. So, granted, he only has Indestructible on your turn, so he will die if he is used as a blocker, maybe. But he's still also just, like, unreasonably powerful to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's before you even look into the main reason why you cast him, which is so that at the beginning of your end step, you can exile a card at random from each opponent's graveyard?
Yep. Each one gets, everyone can get it.
Okay. This card seems super fun and super powerful, because I said before that casting your opponent's spells is not really a strategy.
It isn't.
Because you never know if it's gonna, like, make a frog token, or if it's gonna, like, mill half of your own deck, or gain you 12 life, or you never know. Except with this guy, wait a second. Not only does it affect all of your opponents, so you can cast up to 3 spells, it does it for free, and they lose life equal to the mana value of the spell you cast. So no matter what you cast, your opponent's losing.
It's gonna be random, but it is gonna hurt.
Yeah. So you just spend a number of cards in your deck just milling your opponents, killing their best creatures, making them discard cards from your hand. Honestly, I feel like this is kind of the perfect Kefka card in that you basically do play it as a supervillain deck.
This bastard is raining destruction on your enemies. Play when you're feeling like a jerk.
I could say a bit more, but he's exciting.
He is?
Now, okay, you're gonna also maybe look at this and go like, but 7 mana. Question mark. Ame. 7 mana in red-black, how are you gonna get there? You can get there. You can get there.
It'll take some doing, but it can be done.
First off, of course, in Commander, you've got a wide variety of ramp at this point. Most of it's going to be mana rocks, probably, but you know your mana rocks.
Dual land, shock lands, fetch lands.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I do especially recommend, by the way, that a slower deck do play the bounce lands, like Rakdos Carnarium. This is a perfect place for Rakdos Carnarium, a card that, since it's common in most sets, a lot of people will neglect, but just makes it so that you're more likely to keep hitting your land drops later and later in the game. And this, I think, is absolutely a black-red control deck.
Oh man, and Kefka would be all over Rakdos. You just look at this guy. He goes to Ravnica, Rakdos is asking if they can have him.
Oh yeah. Rakdos might bow down, at least on Kefka's turn. They'll come after him on the other people's turns.
He would expect nothing less, and he'd be laughing all the way.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to be playing red-black control, and that means you're going to be buying time. You're going to be blowing up the board. You're going to be killing creatures, making people discard cards, just absolutely hindering everything your opponent does until you get to the 7 mana. You will get there, and by the time you get there, everyone's going to be exhausted, and their graveyards are going to be full. And then you have a smorgasbord, and you eat.
Maybe someday I'll make a clown deck with this guy in charge.
Then why didn't they give the clown creature type? I'm genuinely a bit upset about that.
I guess they wanted to... Well, thing is, even though he dresses like that, he's not an entertainer. This guy is a friggin' general and a very powerful mage.
Okay, I actually was curious about that with this guy and with, what was it, Gogo?
Yeah.
That they look more clowny than most clowns, and yet are we seriously talking about like a military force where they're like, yes, this is General Patton, and yes, that's General Eisenhower, and that's General Kefka, the silly one. Whoa! And we totally take him seriously, and he's not a clown, guys. He just dresses like that.
That's how powerful he is. Sometimes...
What the hell?
Hey, in a regimented and structured order, the real power move is to be able to get away with looking like that. Okay,
it just seems to me like in any normal, if the rest of the military is normal, then what the heck is he doing? Because like even the Joker, if the Joker is the leader of his group, and therefore most of his underlings look kind of like him. So why doesn't his army look like they're all trying to emulate this powerful guy? I don't know. Did he, like, take over an existing army or something?
Actually, no. He did not take over an existing army. In the beginning of the story, he's already Emperor Gestal's second in command and highest general.
Okay.
Thing is, Kefka Palazzo did not always look like this or act like this.
Did he fall into a vat of acid because of Batman?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but he might as well have. Okay. They did something with him with Magitech and Magicite, and we don't know what happened exactly, but apparently he used to be a lot more formal, a lot grimmer, a lot more stern. Still evil, but, not this.
Okay.
Neutral evil or lawful evil, not chaotic evil.
Okay. So, looks like the next character that we have here, finally moving on from the very interesting Kefka
Locke!
to Locke, Treasure Hunter. Want to read him?
Locke the Treasure Hunter. 1 mana, black red. Locke can't be blocked by creatures with greater power.
Oh.
This makes sense. He is a treasure hunter. And technically he's a thief.
Okay.
Mug. Whenever Locke attacks, each player mills a card. If a land card was milled this way, create a treasure token. Until end of turn, you may cast a spell from among those cards.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, this one is not as relevant for the vanilla test. Sure, like 3 mana, 2/3, he fails it, but can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So that means he's rarely going to die in combat. Almost always he's going to attack, and either the blocking creature dies or no one blocks.
Yeah.
And when you attack, everyone mills a card, and then you get a treasure if a land was milled. It's very likely that a land will be milled, and until end of turn, you may cast a spell from among those cards. So this is reminding me a lot of...
He's a whole thief here.
What's the guy? Something or other Tome-bound. Tome-bound... Prosper. Reminding me a lot of Prosper. At the beginning of your end step, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. And whenever you play a card from exile, create a treasure token. So this guy likes a lot of the same things that Locke likes, which is, we're milling, we're getting treasures, we're casting spells. It is a little different, because I guess Prosper cares a lot more about exile. But Prosper is one of the best Rakdos commanders there is.
Oh, so this guy may be up there as well.
Yeah, I'd say he's a step or two down, perhaps.
But you got a ways to fall there, bud.
He costs 1 mana less. He actually is a little bit relevant in that he will likely be doing some combat. You just don't want to... This is one of the few creatures that you want to attack with where you actually don't want to buff his power because he gets easier to block.
Yeah.
So...
Maybe give him double strike.
Double strike would be cool. Extra combat, so he does his attack more than once. Stronic Resonator, or other things to double the trigger. And also just like some self-mill. And it does say each player mills a card, and then you may cast a spell from among those cards. So, once again, you can cast your opponent's spells, but this time it's not like that's the only way to get value. You can cast your own spells to get value, and you get treasures and you get value. I think this guy's good.
Yeah. He is one of the good guys, after all.
All right.
And one of the... I can't remember if he's the first character you get to play as or the second.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's up there. He's very important to the story.
Mog, Moogle Warrior.
Hey, there's the Moogle I was talking about.
All right.
He does dances, and then sometimes it casts spells.
Okay.
Okay. 1 red-white with lifelink. Dance. At the beginning of your end step, each player may discard a card. Each player who discarded a card this way draws a card.
Oh.
If a creature card was discarded this way, you make a 1/2 white Moogle creature token with lifelink.
Oh.
Then if a non-creature card was discarded this way, put a 1/1 counter on each Moogle you control.
Oh no.
Moogle Armageddon!
Oh no. Okay. Here's the thing. Duplicate tab. Cathar's Crusade. This card is the bane of go-wide decks.
No!
Whenever a creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So say you have a card that like makes a Moogle repeatedly. Then you make a Moogle and you put a counter on all the Moogles that you currently have. Then you make a new one, you put more counters on those. Cool. Except you're going to now have a bunch of different tokens, not real cards, but tokens that have different amounts of counters on them. In addition to different states of summoning sickness or not summoning sickness, tapped or not tapped. So representing all the different creatures that you have with all the different states that you have is a bookkeeping nightmare for physical Magic play.
It would be awesome, though.
And Mog has a kind of Cathar's Crusade built into him while making Moogles.
Yep.
So just to see here. So everyone draws. Everyone can discard and then draw. And if a creature is discarded, you get a Moogle. And if a non-creature is discarded, you put a counter on each Moogle you control. So that means that the first time that happens, you can end up with a Moogle and putting a counter on Mog and his friend. And then the next time that happens, you can do it again, except now Mog and the first Moogle will have 2 counters, and then the new one will have 1. And that is the beginning of your problem. And your whole deck is probably likely going to be built around making more Moogles and more counters on them, and it'll be a nightmare. But
Moogles everywhere.
with tokens like this,
Look at these little cute toyetic babies.
are you willing to subject yourself to this nightmare? Maybe you are.
Are you willing to subject this nightmare to someone else, is the real question.
All I ask is that you find a way of representing this quickly and efficiently. Bring lots of dice, bring lots of these tokens so you can represent the tapped ones, the untapped ones, the summoning sick ones, the ones of different sizes. Bring as many of these as you can, and as many D6s as you can.
Write a program if you have to.
Oh, you play this on Arena, you're golden. You play this on Magic Online, if that still exists, you're golden. Thankfully, we don't have the Spider-Man problem that the Final Fantasy cards will exist in this form on Arena and Magic Online. Now, all that said, neglecting the bookkeeping nightmare that this is, seems fun as hell.
I'm having happy little evil visions of Moogles burying everything. Mm-hmm. And I know I can't be the only one.
Everybody discarding a card and drawing a card is definitely something that you can find ways of taking advantage of. These little guys have lifelink. White-red go wide is a time-tested strategy. You've got your Anointed Processions, your Mondrax, your O'Hare Tox, all kinds of things where you can make double or even triple tokens every time you do the thing.
This guy's your little buddy, and he is going to bury your world.
Yeah, so there's... The bookkeeping nightmare keeps me from putting it in exciting, honestly.
Fair enough. That's fair. That's fair.
But, otherwise I would put... If it was just the bookkeeping nightmare, I'd put him in, lame or questionable. But, turns out he's cute, and he's probably kind of good, so I'll put him there. Compromise. Now then, we go on to our penultimate Final Fantasy VI legend in the
Setzer.
Precon. It is Seltzer water, when you need the bubbles.
When seltzer water enters, create the Blackjack, a legendary 3/3 colorless vehicle artifact token with flying and crew 2. This guy is the guy with the airship. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, flip a coin. Whenever you win a coin flip, create 2 tap treasure tokens. This makes sense because he's kind of a sky pirate, and his special attacks revolve around gambling.
Okay, and he's 3 mana for a 2/2, so fails the vanilla test, right? Wrong. When he enters, you make the Blackjack, and the Blackjack is a 3/3 flying creature. Well, no, it's a vehicle, right? It's not a creature. So, what's the math on this? Is he a 3 mana 2/2 and a 3/3? Is he just one or the other? I think he is the Blackjack.
I think and either way, I think it averages out to passing the vanilla test.
Yes. Now, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if you can crew with a creature that is summoning sick, and I believe the answer is yes. However, the Blackjack will be summoning sick then and unable to attack. So, you still don't want to be cast Setzer, get the Blackjack, tap him, crew the Blackjack, and then pass combat because he didn't have haste. So don't do that. But I think this guy, because it has crew 2 and he has 2 power, effectively he is a 3 mana 3/3 flyer with a vehicle dealing combat damage to a player causes you to flip a coin. What happens if you lose a flip?
Doesn't say. You just don't get the treasure tokens.
Yeah, nothing bad happens if you lose the flip. So this is the kind of gambling where like they
You don't
have
lose,
it on free play.
you just might win.
Yeah, they have it on free play. This is when they give you like free slots night or something. You flip coins and sometimes you win treasures. And it synergizes with other vehicles? Okay. Is this guy particularly strong? I don't think so.
I don't think he has to be, though.
There's no like direct way of damaging your opponents. It doesn't draw you cards. It doesn't do removal. It doesn't do a lot of things. Synergizes with a usually quite weak kind of strategy of vehicles. Synergizes with flipping coins, and there's a lot of really unreliable stuff there. But you know what? It makes treasures, and it's a pretty good sized creature.
You could totally make like a Sky Pirate deck out of this with this guy in charge.
And
that would be neat.
Yeah, honestly, I am torn between cool and exciting. I think I still want to put it in cool just because, like, I don't think he's going to be terribly effective in that likely you're going to be playing vehicles and flipping coins while your opponents, like, eat you alive. But, he's still pretty cool.
Yeah, there's fun to be had with this guy, which kind of makes sense given his personality.
You just want to have as much of the rest of your deck as possible filled up with vehicles, cards that care about flipping coins, and then good stuff like card draw and removal. And shoot, who was the last one? It was the Waring Triad.
Okay, these three are okay, let me see if I've got my lore right.
Okay.
These three are a pair of statues that represent gods, and they kind of help keep the world's energies in balance. So naturally the Emperor and Kefka decide to go fuck with them.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that like Kefka consumed them.
Well, yeah, but first he kind of pushed them out of balance.
Oh, okay.
Basically, these three are facing each other, so no one can gain power over the other. Kefka kind of pushes one out of the way, and everything goes bluey because of it. Because now the gods are offset.
Okay. Well, why don't you read it?
3 mana, legendary artifact creature, god! With flying, trample, and haste. As long as there are fewer than 8 cards in your graveyard, this thing is not a creature. Tap it to mill a card. Target player adds 1 mana of any color. Target mill, add mana.
And so, okay, here's another situation where I think most people would say the vanilla test doesn't make sense. 3 mana for a 5/5. Wow, how do you even get something that good? Flying, trample, haste. Holy crap, how do you even get something that good? Well, of course, it's that as long as there are fewer than 8 cards in your graveyard, the Waring Triad isn't a creature. Except, that means that if you cast this as you can cast this as a 3 mana rock.
Yep.
This is a manolith at worst, where you tap and mill in order to make 1 mana of any color, but it's not just you. You can give other people mana of any color.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, think about all the times that you've had opponents where there's like one person who's running away with the game, and they're like, I could stop him if only I had 1 more blue mana or something like that. You'd be like, hey, buddy, hey, here's a blue mana.
So this is an okay politicking card.
Yeah, and then how hard is it to get 8 cards into your graveyard? It's pretty freaking easy, I tell ya. Now, here's the main thing holding this card back. It's that it's colorless.
Yeah.
Which means its color identity is colorless. So yes, you can put it in any color of deck. But if it's your commander, you have to play a colorless deck.
Whew, that was a lot of Eldrazi.
Yeah! I mean, I've seen a variety of different strategies. I have a Juggernaut deck that's all colorless, except I'm kind of bored of it now, because it does the same thing a lot. So, is this any good as a commander? It probably still is. Is it good in the 99 of certain decks? Yes.
I think generally it's better in the 99 than as a commander.
Yeah, because then you can play spells that have colors.
Yeah.
You know?
Gives you more to work with.
Like black ones that'll help you fill your graveyard, and blue ones that'll help you fill your graveyard, and maybe even red ones that'll help you fill your graveyard. You never know. So if you're playing colors, you can probably get this really easily. Just do some cycling or something even. So where would I put this? You know what? It's hard for me to say anything less than a 3-mana 5/5 with Flying Trample Haste that makes mana, and has a condition that's not too hard to meet. It's hard for me to say anything less than exciting.
Really?
Honestly. Yeah. And as a colorless deck, this is I think that I'd need to do some more research to say how easy is it to get 8 cards into your graveyard. And if it's easier than I think, if there's plenty of cycling and stuff like that, like Ash Barons and I don't know what else, then maybe this is a 3-mana 5/5 Flying Trample Haste, and then the second ability and the third ability just don't do anything.
Oh, I forgot to mention, you can also apparently get superpowers if you stand in the middle of the Waring Triad.
Oh,
which is
okay.
what Emperor Gestal was aiming for, but then Kefka fucked everything up.
As he does.
That's just how he rolls. I can't believe that Emperor Gestal was like, I trust this guy. This guy is not going to stab me in the back at the opportune moment. Dummy.
Also, there are a lot of decks out there that want to be self-mill decks, and ideally you mill yourself while doing other things. So you don't have a card that's all it does unless it's really, really good at it. This one, that's not all it does. It does so much more than just mill yourself, but also it just mills yourself. So, and heck, there's also no situation where you don't play this for 3 mana and then tap it for a mana, because even if it's a creature, it has haste. So, I think this card is potentially very good, at least in a deck where you want to fill your own graveyard.
Okay.
So,
So,
that is the breakdown then for the commanders in the Final Fantasy VI Commander deck.
which one would you be most interested in playing with?
Personally, Kefka.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I
want to put him to the top of the exciting list because, honestly, in a lot of my play groups, I end up being kind of the archenemy anyway.
That's because you're really good at this game.
I've been playing
should be
this
getting
game for
paid.
a long time.
I swear, you need to apply for WotC or something because you know it at least as good as anyone else, and I think that you would thrive in that environment.
And I've also designed like thousands of cards in my free time, most of which I have saved, and I have considered making content on this channel about that, about doing like a game, like card design kind of talk. So let me know if there's any interest in that, but
I think we'd be better off making that into a streaming show.
yeah, maybe. But to answer your question, red black. Eventually play your commander and just clown on people and be the archenemy, play the red-black control the whole time.
Unleash your inner supervillain!
Exactly. This is a supervillain deck, and I kind of love it. I actually do have something kind of similar to it right now with Xancha.
The stupid
Sleeper
prizes
Agent.
deck.
No, that's not stupid prizes. That's, I just call it my Xancha deck because I give my commander to my opponents, and then I treat my girl good. I won with her yesterday at 1 life.
Dang.
But this is a bit different. Or I'd love to build this for somebody else to see them go super villain.
I should try making a circus deck out of this guy.
Yeah, if only they would actually use the clown creature type like they ought to.
Well, just because it doesn't have the clown creature type doesn't mean it's not a clown. Same with, Pokemon logic. Just because it's not the dragon type doesn't mean it's not a dragon. Looking at you, Charizard.
But Charizard's kind of not a dragon then.
Charizard's a dragon.
Charizard's not a dragon.
Yes, it is!
It's not weak to, dragon moves.
It's not dragon type,
Right.
but it's a dragon.
Well, it's not dragon type.
Oh my god, Lance settled this ages ago.
Yeah, because he has Gyarados. Because it looks like a dragon.
Lance's whole thing is that he's a dragon-themed Pokemon trainer.
And he ran out of dragons. Yeah.
And in Pokemon Masters, he straight up says not all dragons are dragon type.
Well, then what's the dragon type for?
I will quote Loxton at you, it will bore people.
Okay. That said, do you have a favorite commander from this deck?
I'm torn between Mog and Shadow here.
Mog and Shadow.
Because I either want to swarm people with plush toys or throw a whole dog at people.
Of course, you can throw a bunch of things other than the dog, but the dog's right there, and he'll come back, and he likes it.
Because he's a good boy.
I think this one will be a logistical nightmare and could end up being very similar to your Arabella deck that we've been brainstorming for a while.
Oh, yeah. But still,
Or it could go in an Arabella deck just for funsies.
I need to think about that because, again, look at this. It's a plush toy.
Pretty much is. So I might even encourage the like kind of out of left field mono black throwing dogs at people deck. So this seems very similar to something you're already doing. I would push towards brainstorming that one. But...
All right, throwing dogs at people.
All right. Once again, kids, don't throw dogs at people, okay?
I love that there's enough variety in this game to pull weird stuff like that.
Oh, yes. I love Magic. I love Commander. As long as we can keep coming up with stuff like this, then I'm going to keep loving Magic and Commander specifically for a long, long time.
Well, now that we're done with this tier list, shall we move on to one of the other Commander decks?
I think we should take a quick break and then do Final Fantasy VII next.
Beautiful.
All right. So I think we will catch you in the next one then, everybody.
See you in a little bit.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.